All right, perfect. So thank you guys all for coming on this beautiful August morning for our talk with both Veda and David. I just wanted to remind you guys of a few upcoming events for Cape Fear River Watch. We do have the Port City Rock Jam, if anyone's interested in some rock music, is happening today. It starts at 11 a.m. and half of the proceeds of that event go to Cape Fear River Watch. So that's really exciting if you want to attend that. It's at Bowstring Burgers and Brew Yard, if you've heard of that. Yeah. So right downtown. And it goes from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. So you got all day to check it out if you wanted to. Yes, yep. And August 10th, so next Saturday, is our second Saturday cleanup with Keep New Hanover Beautiful. That's in the Burnt Mill Creek watershed. There's more info about exact location on our website if you want to register. And August 14th, we're having a pint night at Highwire Brewing from 6 to 8 p.m., and that's to celebrate our summer membership raffle that's happening now. So now it started July 22nd through September 11th. If you join or renew your membership, you'll be entered into a raffle to win one of 4 grand prizes. So they are bald cypress seedlings from the oldest bald cypress on the planet, which is almost 3,000 years old. So we've got seedlings from that. We've got a paddle trip to see those trees, the Three Sisters Swamp, so that's super exciting. A boat ride with our riverkeeper Kemp on our boat, the Osprey. And the last grand prize is a 2-night stay at the Robin's Nest that was donated by Charles Robbins, and it's a treehouse Airbnb that's really cool. And all of that will be in our e-newsletter and on our social media's website as well, if you guys want to check that out. So that's super exciting, and if you want to join or renew after today, you can see me, or if you want to check the status of your membership, you can also come see me. Other than that, we have an additional August cleanup on August 15th. It's a Thursday, 9 to 11 a.m. with the band Easy Honey. That's at McCumbers Branch. And we've got our third Saturday paddle, August 17th, and that's to Shelter Creek, and that's with Kemp, our riverkeeper. As always, we appreciate your donations. We've got our tip jar up front. And thank you to any past and active board members who are here. We appreciate you. And thank you to TK and CB from Coastal Carolina Network for filming all of these seminars for us, so they're available on our YouTube like this one will be. And now I'll introduce our speakers. So we've got Veda and David today. Veda is an environmental professional with nearly a decade of experience in environmental education, sustainability programming, and communications. A North Carolina native, she attended UNCW, earning a MS in environmental sciences. She currently serves as the vice chair of Keep New Hanover Beautiful, living in Wilmington with her husband, Parker, and kittens, Fennel and Beans. And then we've got David Ingram. So David is the sustainability manager for the city of Wilmington. David's work includes guiding the city to achieve their clean energy, GHG emissions reduction, and recycling and waste reduction goals. David is a LEED AP with over 15 years of experience in the sustainability field in both public and private sector. And I'll pass it on to you guys to start. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Oh, that's nice. I want to go back to bed now. So as Shauna said, I am Veda Lewin. I'm the vice chairperson for Keep New Hanover Beautiful, but a bit more about my professional life. I serve as the Sustainability Engagement Manager globally for Aramark Enterprise, which is a national food service organization. So I work on their sustainability programming, and then in my abundant free time work for Keep New Hanover Beautiful. And I have been an active member of KNHB since 2017, actually at the direction of Dr. Roger Shu, who's with us today. So thank you. I would not be here had you not requested or encouraged me to reach out to KNHB. I started with our cigarette litter prevention program, which we're going to get into in just a little bit, but it has been a lovely journey watching this organization grow. David, you want to give a little backstory on your involvement with KNHB before we get involved with the presentation?
Sure. Yeah, David Ingram. I've been involved with KNHB for about 8 years now as well. They were kind of one of the first organizations and nonprofits I was interested in when I moved to the city. So yeah, I've now been on the board as well for about 7 of those years. So amazing organization. Love all the programs and projects that they do. It's great to be involved.
Yeah, so we've been on the board almost the exact amount of time, and we serve under the direction of our fearless leader, Dick Brightman, who could not be here with us today, visiting his grandkids in Pennsylvania. But we're happy to give the presentation on his behalf. So Keep New Hanover Beautiful, I'm a walker, so I'll be walking around. So Keep New Hanover Beautiful is a local affiliate of the larger Keep America Beautiful, which is obviously a national organization. We are a 501(c) nonprofit. So we are a completely all-volunteer board. A lot of Keep America Beautiful affiliates are affiliated with their municipalities, so they're often housed within waste management, with soil and water, or with another department within their county. When we started out that way in the 1980s, but with the 2007-2008 happenings, we became unaffiliated with the county as we suffered some budget constraints. So we have been an all-volunteer board since then. We currently have a board of 9. I think 9 board members that we just contribute our volunteer time to come to our events and to attend our board meetings. So just a little bit of background about the organization, and then we'll kind of jump in with what our programming looks like.
Yeah, happy to talk about our cigarette litter prevention program. So it's been probably one of our, I think, most public-facing and very successful projects. I think since the inception of the program back in 2017, we've collected over a ton. I think
2,700 pounds.
I think is what our total is up to now. So kind of if you can visualize that, about a ton of cigarette butts is about 2 million cigarette butts. So we've collected a lot of cigarette butts. So the program has spread. We started with, probably just a handful of locations, and now we have, what's the total? No, over 470 sites?
This data the numbers are old from 2022, but these are kind of where they're distributed throughout the county, and we have, over 470 now of our canisters around town.
Yeah, you probably recognize, you may have been to some of the locations where we have these distributed, and some a little bit different looking ones on some locations, but I know we've got quite a few on our collection containers in our central business district right downtown here, around a lot of the bars and restaurants. All of the beach locations, Curie Beach, Carolina Beach, Riceville Beach, and I think expanded up to Topsail and South End.
Yeah.
Have all been covered, as well as locations out at like the airport. So quite a good distribution of the cigarette litter prevention program. It's thanks to all of our volunteers who can really help us collect at all of those locations, but it's very much a program that keeps these type of litter out of our environment. So number one most littered item in the world is cigarette butts. Pet peeve whenever you see somebody just flick a cigarette butt out for me, but yeah, very successful program. And these actually get sent back, they get mailed off to a place that actually recycles the cigarette butts it breaks it down into different components, so it's not like we're just collecting these and taking them to the landfill. They actually do get recycled. So,
sorry to interrupt, but what
please.
do they then get used for?
They can be made into a variety. I mean, they get broken down into the paper, and there's actually microplastics in there, and some of those, actually, Riceville Beach Brewery actually has a table out in their outside area that's made from recycled cigarette butts.
So the piece in the filter that looks like cotton used to be cotton, but now is a plastic polymer blend. So those threaded things that still have that cottony feel is a mixture with a I'm going to mess up the actual polyhydrate, but with a mixture of a plastic polymer as well as the cotton fibers, and they can break those down. They turn them into plastic pellets, which can then be sold as a raw material. So think about the new decking boards that people have that are made out of plastic, vinyl siding, the squishy stuff that goes underneath your carpet that I'm sure has a more technical name. And then things like the picnic table that we have at Riceville Beach Brewery. So that actually has a plaque with our name on it if you happen to pop by there for a beer. It's also a wheelchair accessible table, one of the picnic tables that has the opening on the side for disability acceptability. So very excited to be able to kind of bring that back. So yes, this is our most popular program and kind of our bread and butter, also where I got involved in the organization back in 2017. This is funded through the Cigarette Litter Prevention Program, which is a Keep America Beautiful program, and we are within the top 5 of organizations for volume of cigarette filters recycled nationally. So this is over the city of Boston. I think the only ones that are above us, I think there's a couple municipalities, and then cruise lines as well are part of this program that collect, because I never would have considered that either, where that cigarette waste went. But so a couple cruise lines, a couple municipalities, and then little tiny New Hanover County. So we're very proud of this program, very excited about it. This is where the bulk of our funding to date has come from. We'll get into kind of looking for the future and what the next step is. But just a little bit of background to give you an idea of kind of where we came from. This was also started kind of the resurgence of the new KNHB after we became an all-volunteer board. Before I get into this, I kind of jumped the gun on myself a little bit from the beginning. So our mission statement, should have led with that to begin with. So our mission statement as part of Keep America Beautiful is to reduce litter or end litter, improve recycling education, and beautify the county. Some of those things go hand in hand. Some of those things, there's subjectivity to that. What does beautification look like? To us, that looks like litter-free streets. That looks like communities coming together to do tree plantings, cleanups, things like that. So all of our programming falls within this mission and vision statement. So our kind of progress to what is the most littered item? Cigarettes. That's where we started. We have a good handle on cigarettes, 470 canisters out. What's next for us? So looking into the water. This was also a partnership program with Keep America Beautiful. We actually were one of 3 Keep America Beautiful affiliates to receive what's called a Seabin. So our Seabins, as you can see here, this is a good example of what the full machine looks like on the right. So the Seabin is a passive litter collection device that sits off of a dock or some sort of water-based infrastructure. So it sits off of that and it passively collects water, so things will float past it, like you're seeing in this middle photo here. Things will float past it, get trapped in the bin, and then a pump pumps the water out of it and forms kind of a suction to trap the litter in so it doesn't float back out and to push that water back out into the basin. So this is kind of our first toe dip into reduction of litter that kind of makes it all the way into the waterways, into the water systems. And this is an example on the left of some of the things that we were able to collect there. We were doing a data collection process with the Plastic Ocean Project to kind of dig through what we were collecting here. Some examples, soda cans, plastics, a lot of those little tiny styrofoam pellets. We were collecting a lot in these, which is really harmful to sea life and to marine life. So we were really excited to be able to capture some of this and be able to log what we were looking at. It is a really energy intensive process, so while it is a passive machine, it does require a lot of maintenance. So we have a large intern base that David's going to talk about in a bit, but a lot of our interns were contributing hours of labor into these per week. So this was really an experiment to see how well this device works in our systems and is it worth using these devices. They're about $5,000 to implement, and then it's a couple of hours of labor per week. So we did receive these for free on a grant, but then had to provide maintenance for applying prop speed to make sure they didn't tarnish, applying different pump parts that would break down every so often. It's really difficult in a tidal environment as well. They have to be pulled for every weather event, which we haven't experienced a lot of this year yet. But in previous years, it's a very labor-intensive process is where I'm going with that. So we were able to collect some things. This is what the process looks like of pulling that basin out. So you do have to, every time you empty it, which is about twice a week. This one is at Port City Marina. We did at one time have 3 full Seabins that were in operation. So 2 of those were at Port City Marina. You have to pull it all the way out of the water, empty the basket. You see a lot of native material in there. That has to be sorted through. The basket has to be rinsed, cleaned, and then put back into the water. So this takes about 2 hours 2 hours twice a week. So this is them washing it off and what that process looks like. Also a great partnership we were able to form with the marinas to be able to utilize. It does require electricity, so to be able to look at where this is going to be effective to put in place. So from our perspective, this is the last slide on this. So from our perspective, this is something that we thought was a great idea to start with. We wanted to see how well it worked and what kind of implications this could have with our partnership with Cape Fear River Watch, with our partnerships with the city and with the county. Is this something we could scale? ultimately we decided it wasn't something that we could scale, unfortunately. Maybe if you had a personal dock that you were able to put in this amount of maintenance and to clean up your personal kind of marina area, that might be something that you could explore to reduce waste and litter there. But with the volume of waste and the volume of litter, as well as the volume of organic material that we were finding in there, it was a very energy intensive process that we found didn't have a huge amount of reward. So we wanted to kind of look beyond that and see, okay, so what's the next innovation? What's the next thing we can try out to see if this is going to work this time? So this has been going on the past couple of years, but while this has been going on, we have been participating in one of our other bread and butter programs, the cleanup program. And I'm going to pass it back to David.
Thanks, Veda. Yeah, so cleanup activities, we do it along with Cape Fear River Watch, the second Saturday cleanups each month. So there's one coming up next weekend, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the programs that's been very successful as well. They pick a different location each month to do the cleanups as well. You can kind of see the great picture we have here on the right with just the level of volunteers that we get. But yeah, one of the programs that really target some of these, sometimes not always in the public eye area, but areas that need cleaning up nonetheless. So it's I don't know if we have any data on like how much or what the
Do you have it
next
to
slide.
date? I actually don't have those numbers in front of
Yeah.
me. But on average, I think it's like over 1,000 pounds
Yeah.
per event.
Yeah, last year I think we had over like 22,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and just for the recording, that was over 22,000 pounds.
Yes.
Yeah, that's incredible. So we do the second Saturdays in partnership with Cape Fear River Watch every year. And then in addition to the second Saturdays,
Yeah, we also do the once a year the Great American Cleanup. So we do have some wonderful data on this. So it's a program that is nationwide, and it's here in our area. We have a number of locations that participate in the Great American Cleanup, and just the impact report you can see here is the amount of waste that is actually collected on a organization-wide basis. It's significantly collects a lot of waste in the area, and it's all recorded, and they provide this impact report at the end of these Great American Cleanup periods. So it's benefit to the community, great significant impact for our waterways, keeping all the trash out of it, and it's a variety of different locations. It's some locations within the city. They do some along the beach areas. So it really impacts areas across our city and across the country. So.
yeah, on the cleanup, so the number for volunteers and participants in 2023, 308,000. We contributed 40 of those, I think, which doesn't sound like a lot compared to 308,000, but is a lot of people to gather together for, I think we did a series of 8 cleanups that were part of Great American for this last year. Yes?
Good question. On that impact report, does that mean there's about 22 million pounds collected altogether, of which some is recycled? Is that what that's saying?
Pounds of litter and debris collected, is that what we're looking at, or pounds of?
Well, you got 10.
Oh yeah, so those would be collected numbers. So when we do the Great American Cleanup, there is a web-based application that we go through and sort out if it's a recyclable material versus if it's not recyclable. So that, put those together, that would be the total.
That's what.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well as some programs out at the county landfill. This was actually a new device that they were testing out at the landfill, New Hanover County landfill. And this is all in regard to extending the life of our local landfill, which, as you all know, is it's the only one we have in the area. And if that gets filled up, it's going to be a significant cost impact to our citizens here in this area. So whatever we can do, and whatever new technology that the landfill can incorporate is going to help us achieve that goal of extending the landfill. And this was a device that Joe, if you guys know Joe out at the landfill, It's a device that actually shreds up things like you can see furniture over here on the left-hand slide, all kinds of debris. It chops it up, you know, and makes it less bulky. So and some items that, you know, typically may not have been able to be landfilled in a certain way. So it really does help chop it up into these smaller pieces, and they're able to spread it out more effectively on the landfill. It creates less bulk, and some of the stuff, you know, they can actually perhaps can sort through, and if it's recyclable as well, they can pull that out. So
I'm actually not sure if this will autoplay or if I have to.
let's see.
Oh, no.
You see a mattress actually going into the
Yeah. So this
Shredder.
whole pile here was what this used to be.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how much space that's going to save.
Yeah, from the city's perspective as well, I can't tell you how many mattresses that we get called to go pick up across the city, and just the bulk of it and just the manpower it takes to collect all of that is significant. So, yeah.
It's another one of this. This one's a bit longer. It's like a wood chipper for trash.
Yeah. More mattresses, furniture. So instead of all of that huge bulk, you can see how bulky all of that material is.
How much did that cost?
I don't know.
I think
I
they were
don't
around
know.
about 300,000 per machine.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
It's a sizable chunk. Awesome. So I wanted to just briefly, David mentioned Joe Sleeman out at the New Hanover County landfill. Please feel free to take one of these bags. We have them up in a box up at front, and this has a full list of recyclable materials that the county takes, except for actually 2 that were added within the last year. I wanted to see pop quiz if anybody noticed what 2 were not on this bag that you can actually recycle.
Were the K-Cups?
K-Cups, yes, so that's
Good
one.
call. Very good.
Batteries you can e-waste recycle. I think those are on here. And then the only other one, what is it, David?
Any other guesses? It may have.
When did the number 5 recycling?
Not at the county, but at the university.
Yeah.
Number 5s, they updated this, so the number 5 plastics are on here.
Like coffee cups.
Like paper
Big
coffee
cups.
cups, so
Yeah.
things like Starbucks cups.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even coated one.
Yep.
Even coated, yep.
That is nice. Okay. Good.
Yeah, so that is not on here, but keep that in the mind. We can recycle those now. And then styrofoam, great call out. Styrofoam and plastic films are recyclable at UNCW, so you can take those to them. That's publicly accessible as well.
Pizza boxes as well. I know that's
Pizza
kind of
boxes as well. To
Yeah.
quash the confusion about pizza boxes, as long as there is no active food residue in the box, they can be recycled.
Even if there's a.
Even if there's grease
Yep.
and stuff, as long as there's no active food. Yes, ma'am.
Do we have to separate the Keurig cups then, or put them in the regular?
There you
They can go in your curbside, I believe. Dave, is that right?
Yep. Yep.
What about the nets and the grounds that are inside? Can you take those out?
If you want to give those a quick rinse, yeah. But I mean, it would be fine with it.
I compost the remnant coffee things in my compost.
Yes, absolutely. So if you want to recycle your K-cups and things, you can absolutely compost the grounds within. I believe they can still be processed because they do go through a washing process, so they can be processed with coffee grounds in them, but I'm sure our recycling techs would appreciate those being rinsed out. Yeah, so on to the star of the show. So I left off with our progression story of litter collection with our Seabins project, which unfortunately we have moved on past that project. There is still one at Bradley Creek Marina that we are actively looking to rehome actually to one of our affiliates that works along the Mississippi River, who's found it to be a more scalable project over there, perhaps. Different tidal zones impact people differently. So they're having great success with that program, so we are going to be good stewards and good neighbors and kick that program over to them. So what we have done, we reached out to Keep America Beautiful and we said, okay, so the Seabins didn't necessarily fulfill the need we were looking for. We're a coastal community. What have you seen? What's the research out there? And they said, oh, well, we have this really cool robot. There's only 10 in the United States that will sift sand off of the beach and sift it out for not necessarily microplastics, because those are things that aren't necessarily visible, but smaller plastics, like millimeter-sized plastics, as well as larger items. Do you have an issue with there being small and larger plastic items on your beach? And we said, absolutely we do. So they were like, okay, well, we are willing to donate this machine to you. So Keep America Beautiful was a good partner to us again and donated our Bebot machine to us in 2022. I believe was when we initially got him. He is from France.
Is it officially a him, or is there?
Okay, I don't want to get into that. I won't assume about it, but I do lovingly refer to it as Biebs. That used to be Justin Bieber's nickname a long time ago, so I wonder if that's just seeped into my mind from there. That was more my generation. But so Biebs came over to us from the European Union, one of those countries, I can't remember precisely which one it was, and was actually developed by the same people that originally developed the Seabins. So they as well thought that we need a larger, more scalable option. So this was developed. This machine is actually $85,000, so very happy to have partners that were willing to donate it to us. There are only 10 others in the United States. This is the only one in North Carolina. The closest one to us was in Destin, Florida, and then there was another one in Lake Tahoe. And we were actually able to, before we got our Bebot, go out and visit those spaces for those Keep America Beautiful affiliates to kind of walk us through what it looks like, what their process looks like. And we've got some photos and videos we'll show you later. We actually also brought the Bebot here with us. So at about 9:40, 9:45, we're actually going to take a field trip out to go see this thing in action. So this is a photo from Carolina Beach. We did an event in 2023, and this was one of our inaugural events to start our permitting process. So back up a little bit what the Bebot does. So the Bebot is a couple parts. So first parts, we have our large tire tread tracks. Those are intended to make it easily movable on sand. We primarily are in the soft sand area. It does not work very well in wet or hard sand, which is great because we don't want to be down there anyway. The majority of the litter that we find is right in that wash line where all the people are sitting. So we actually just want to be in the soft sand anyway, so that works out great. So our tire tread marks, underneath the hood here, we have 2 golf cart sized batteries that we charge in the evenings, as well as our solar panels on the back, which buy us another couple of hours if our batteries run out. So we have our 2 rechargeable batteries, fully electric, and then all of our controls here on the top. We have seen some misconstrued information in the media that this is an AI solution. This is completely human powered. So you'll see when we walk out, my colleague Hunter is going to be doing some piloting for us later. And it's kind of like a large remote control car. It looks like an Xbox controller that you kind of walk around with it. So this is not AI in any way. It's not it's not going to run down children without any, you have to sit there and control it. It doesn't go very fast as well, and we have an emergency stop button if we were to ever encounter something that we did not want to go over. Something that we see could damage the machine, or a piece of native material that we want to get out of the way, or we need to change directions quickly. So it does have an emergency stop right there on the top, and then our flashlight that goes off. So the big piece of this, and what we actually are doing the work with, is this back end here. So this piece is like a giant sieve, or like a strainer that you would use in your kitchen. It's multi-layer, and they go over each other. There's multiple sieves that go over each other in like a crisscross pattern. In the back, we can lower that back to go anywhere between 1 and 4 inches in the sand, depending on the density of the sand and what material we're trying to collect in that area. So we can go down between 1 and 4 inches, collect that sand, and then it'll sieve by shaking those filters across each other, letting the sand fall through and collecting the waste materials. We also do frequently collect shell materials, or what's the word I'm looking for? Not bamboo, like straw, like hay. Mm-hmm. I can't find the actual species.
Grasses.
Yes, grasses, yes. Thank you very much. So beach grasses, we often collect some of that native material too, and I'll show you in just a moment what that process looks like for us to remove the trash and then replace that native material in the sand. So we have a couple more pictures, and then this one is from Wrightsville Beach, also in 2023. So this is an example of what it looks like when that back end is raised up, so that's not interacting with the sand at all. We use it in that position when we're just moving around to make sure we don't damage the machine. In this middle here, you see a blue tarp, and everything that we collect, we raise the machine up, put the tarp underneath, and then open that back filter space up, and it dumps everything out onto our tarp. We then will sort all of that material out and take out all of the waste products, and then we return all of the native material back to the strand. So none of those shells are being displaced, none of the grasses and things are being displaced. They're all moved back into that same area of the beach. I actually brought with us a couple of examples of some things that we collected. Part of our, and I'll get into legality in just a moment, but part of our permitting process is that we are allowed to go out on the beaches after major holidays. Please stay. So this one on the left is after Memorial Day. So this is from roughly a 300-meter stretch of beach on Carolina Beach after Memorial Day. So we've got cocktail straws, cigarette filters, wristbands from the carnival, beach cups, a lot of lids to plastic bottles. We find a lot of lids to plastic bottles. And then this one on the right is from after the 4th of July. I see Mick Ultra lid, Corona lid, Budweiser lid. So you can imagine what people were doing the 4th of July on the beach. But this is from just a 2-hour span within a 300-meter section of the beach, these giant tubes.
And
So
how wide a swath, just like the width of that?
Yep, so you'll see on this photo on the right, the width of the Bebot, we normally do 10 of those down, so
Okay.
that width times 10 along that strand, and that's also in accordance with our permitting process. That this is the area of beach that we've deemed there are no turtle nesting sites, there are no critical bird habitats and things like that. So part of our partnership with the Division of Coastal Management is to make sure that we're going in areas where this is not going to impact any wildlife. We also work really closely on both beaches with the turtle, is it just turtle watch or is there a more official name?
They do have an organizational name, but yeah, Turtle Watchers is good.
You think, yeah. So with the Turtle Watch community that goes out, Wrightsville and Carolina Beach, we typically do these earlier in the mornings. So we'll meet them before dawn and go out with them and walk around and identify where we found turtle nesting sites to make sure that we're with them when those get marked off and we don't go anywhere near that area. Because to the legal implication of turtle take within North Carolina, within the federal borders, I believe as well, any interaction with a turtle nest at all is considered an illegal take. So we do not interact at all or go in the spaces that turtle nests are identified. So this was our inaugural sweep with Wrightsville Beach, also to initiate that permitting process. So the Division of Marine Fisheries was there. Fish and Wildlife was there, the Division of Coastal Management, a representative from DEQ was there. So we had, this is me wearing very inappropriate footwear for the beach in the morning. I had to go to work later that day. I was also freezing. So this was in like January. But so this is what we'll see when we go outside. This is our Xbox controller, and this, you can see some of the stickers that used to be on there, sponsored by 4Ocean. That was in partnership with Serial Cleaners who developed the machine. We have since put our logo on there since we were gifted the Bebot. So this is an up close of what that control system looks like. This is from when we went out and visited Destin, Florida. So this actually, the way that they do this is a bit different. Their Bebot is not owned by a Keep America Beautiful affiliate. They're actually owned by a private company, and their Bebot sweeps cost money. So if you have a hotel or something like that, you can pay them to come out and clean your beach in the morning before you set your beach chairs out for your guests. So we are doing it completely for free to our beach communities and are serving as subcontractors with those communities. But this is another way to go about it. The Lake Tahoe Bebot is owned by a Keep America Beautiful affiliate, but as part of their subcontracting with the community of Lake Tahoe, they are also paid to do that service as part of like a beach sweeping cleaning service.
Do you know what beach it is in Lake Tahoe?
I do not. Fortunately, I'm a marine wetland girl. But we actually, the Lake Tahoe representative did come and give us a full, once our Bebot got delivered, he actually had to come over in a big crate on one of the shipping vessels, and we had to go down to the port to get it. So the Lake Tahoe representative came out and actually taught us how to use the controller and everything, because they've had theirs for quite some time. This is from just a couple of weeks ago, and I promise I have a different shirt. I just happen to be wearing the same shirt in a lot of our photos. This is from the 5th of July when we collected this period. So you see the several lines here. I think we had done 4 lines by that time within the Bebot. And what I like about this photo is you can see footprints behind where the Bebot is going. From the images where the sand is smooth in the back, it gives the impression that the sand is compacted, which was another thing we wanted to talk to the Division of Coastal Management about. But as you can see, as you're walking behind it, it's very soft sand still. There's no compacting that occurs of the sand. It really is just kind of a flattening and smoothing effect that you can easily just kind of kick it or move it with your hand, and it's not compacted at all. But so I really like to show that because I think that the imagery sometimes gives the implication that it's having more of an impact kind of than it is. But so this too came out of these couple of sessions that we did right here. And just to show how easy it is to man the Bebot, this is Dick Brightman's granddaughter who was manning it for us at the time. Under supervision, we were right there. But this is another example of us picking through that waste product. You can see, or well, probably not because it's really far away, but all of these little things are all cigarette butts that we collected. The majority of which are in that tube. There's actually more stuff that does not go in the tube, but you can't put things like cans and larger items. So. And then we've been featured on the news several times, which was really fun, but this particular time was at 6:15 in the morning, which was less fun than normal. But very excited that we're starting to get some more involvement with the Bebot. Speaking of involvement with the community and with outreach, we also have a lot of volunteer and intern base that we use to do our outreach events. So I'm going to kick it back to Davis. I've been talking at you for quite some time now.
Yeah, we really couldn't do any of these programs without all of the amazing volunteers that we have within the organization, as you know, not only for our cigarette butt litter prevention programs, but everyone that comes out for the second Saturday cleanups, to people helping with the Bebot, to the Seabins, even though that's kind of going wayside. That one was incredibly labor intensive, as Veda mentioned. So yeah, I mean, we've had amazing interns and volunteers over the year. Always looking to recruit more, particularly as we do things as like expanding the cigarette litter prevention program, or you know, reaching out into new areas and new communities. So always very grateful and thankful for the volunteers that we get. It's huge part of the impact and success that our organization can help. So spread the word. Yeah. As well as we do, you know, a lot of tabling events. You may have seen us at, we did, you know, some tree plantings in conjunction with some of the city programs and other organizations who are sponsoring that, planting more trees around in various areas of the city. So obviously trying to always think about our tree canopies. We actually, as far as from the city perspective, we actually came out with a new urban tree management plan here in the last year, so things like that are certainly impactful in the success of some of those city goals as well. And you know, some of our Earth Day events, more of the tabling efforts, just to get the information and information about our program out to the community as a whole. So things like the Earth Day event are a great way for us to kind of get that message out to a larger audience that may not necessarily know about some of the programs we have. So, yeah, it's see some of the ways we try to even engage kids and everything. We've got some amazing fun games that we always try to play at all of these tabling events to generate that interest and excitement in some of the programs that we do. So, yeah, thanks to all of our volunteers and interns that may be out there.
Yeah, and we do have an open we do have an open internship program with UNC Wilmington. We do that through the Marine Biology Department as well as the Environmental Sciences Department. So if you know anyone who are in either of those departments, please feel free to let them know. We do have a paid internship, so there is a 2-part stipend as part of our program with them. We really struggle sometimes in the summer with interns because the summer internship period is quite tight, and then students obviously want to go and enjoy their summer break, and they deserve it, but we really lean on our volunteers over the summer, so very appreciative to everyone that comes to the cleanups and things like that. And our cigarette litter prevention volunteers, we didn't really go into detail when we were talking about that earlier and what they actually do. So this is Caitlin on the far right, one of our interns from a couple of years ago. Our interns are responsible for sometimes even installing our units, so they break the drill out, and this was when we were expanding into Curry Beach to install on those beach fronts. So how the cigarette litter prevention program works, our team of interns and volunteers will go out and collect from our cigarette containers. And then once they collect those into a 5-gallon bucket, we provide them with the bucket, gloves, trash cans, trash bags, and things like that. So they'll fill up that bag, tie it up, we give them a box and a label, they tape it up, put the label on it, and then we ship it to our partners who recycle it later. So you do have to be okay with a bit of grime, because I actually started as a cigarette litter prevention intern in 2017, and cigarettes do smell pretty bad for a really long time. So I kept mine, my 5-gallon bucket I kept in a Rubbermaid container in another bag in my trunk, and you could still sometimes smell it.
You don't want it in your trunk for very long.
Not for very long, not for very long. No, they called me the cigarette fairy. My jurisdiction was the Midtown bars, so I had to collect once every 3 days. I had to collect something.
I guess that's better than the butt fairy, right?
That is better than butt fairy. Yep.
We didn't mention the partner that it gets shipped to is TerraCycle.
Yes.
Is where they get actually sent in who does the recycling.
Yep, so TerraCycle in New Jersey, all the recycling bit is done stateside. And then once that raw material is produced, it can then be sold within the states or internationally. Okay.
Question?
Yes, absolutely.
I was just at Roscoe Beach this week, and they have refilled with sand that has more rocks in it than sand.
Interesting.
What would that do to your machine? Can it get through that?
I suppose it depends on the size of rock, but it would probably stay in with part of that shell hash that we would have to then sort out. So I doubt it would damage it at all. You'll see it's a pretty rugged machine once we get out there. It's all rubber polymer coated.
Rocks. They're
Like pebbles?
Yes.
Yeah, so that probably just adds kind of more work on our volunteer intern base to be able to sort and filter those things out with the hash material. Yes?
How deep is the sifting process?
Between 1 and 4 inches, depending on the moisture of the sand. So if it's a more moist sand, we would go very light because it's more difficult to sieve through a wet product. But if it's very dry sand, and wet sand, I mean if it's rained recently, we don't go down by the water at all. That's part of our permit, that we do not go below the high tide line. Yes?
You mentioned you could make 10 passes. About how long does it take total time?
I would say, I guess Hunter went outside to go get it. I would say probably 4 hours we're typically out there for. Battery life-wise, we probably only have about 6 hours total before we need to plug him in and recharge him anyway. So we're typically out there for around 4 hours in the mornings. Yes?
Have you made successive passes over a particular area to see what the accumulation rate might be? Like you do a 300 square meters section.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you go back over that section? Have you been back over that particular section?
Oh, yes, to do it twice to see if there was something.
Period of time.
We've not done, I get what you're saying now.
Fill up that tube again.
Yeah.
A week or two later, or a month later.
Right. We've not been able to do something sequentially that way because right now the way our permit is written, because it is sea turtle nesting season, we are only permitted a certain number of events a month. After turtle nesting season, that is something that we'd be able to go out and kind of look at because we'd be able to do more events or more processes after that period is over, which I believe is September 15th. And on average, it sometimes trails a bit later, depending on what the climate is doing that month. But yeah, that's something I think that's a really interesting idea to be able to go back and see, we just did this a week ago. Let's see how it stacks up against last week. So that's something that we'd be able to do within the constraints of our permit in the fall and winter time. Yes?
So, related question, you were talking about your 2 tubes there, and one of them was right after the 4th of July, and it seemed like there was a lot more bottle top beer cans.
Yeah.
Effluvia. Have you noticed any kind of trends in terms of time of year or time of the summer? Because I would imagine the summer is the kind of the biggest time for accumulation. After Memorial Day weekend, after 4th of July weekend, after Labor Day weekend, versus the intervening periods.
Yeah, so the only data I have that I can share out on that right now, since we've just begun doing these at the beginning of 2023, is that so the Wrightsville Beach one that I showed couple of slides ago that was in January. In this pile, you're finding a lot of really degraded cigarette butts. You're finding a lot of older plastics, things that are kind of either washing up or blowing out from trash cans on here. And then in this, you're finding a lot of immediate trash, things that were just deposited. So things that don't have time to degrade at all, that don't have time to be potentially eaten by something else. We also found in the days after large events, we were finding a lot of food, which I know often people do not consider throwing a banana core, a banana peel, or an apple core out the window or something like that as litter, because it is organic and it does break down, but litter is defined by something in a place that it is not supposed to be. So even those materials do not belong on the beaches. We found a lot of cocktail garnishes, I'd say. After both holidays, so a lot of lime wedges, orange wedges, cherry stems, things like that, which while they do degrade and break down over time, still are registered to our birds and our marine life as food and are not their intended food sources. So still a litter product, but something that I think, same with cigarettes, people do not assume is a littered item. So finding a lot of that material as well. Those things we actually collect and then we do landfill those items instead of keeping them for display, because I imagine that would get very smelly very quickly. So our last two slides, we just had a couple of videos. We have a fantastic partner with Boot Scrap Films, which is a local videography company, and they've done a couple of advertisements for us that we've been able to post online and do some like YouTube advertising as well. So I wanted to show these. I'm concerned that they'll be really loud, so I'm so sorry if they are.
Boot Scrap!
In case you weren't aware, cigarette butts are litter. Keep New Hanover Beautiful has been working on a cigarette butt removal and recycling campaign since early 2017. Working with our many community partners, we have installed over 200 cigarette butt canisters throughout our beautiful county. Utilizing these unique devices, we have collected and successfully recycled 918 pounds of discards, which equates to nearly 1 million butts in only 3 years. This campaign has helped us to keep cigarette butt litter out of our Cape Fear River, the Atlantic Ocean, and most importantly, the stomachs of our true locals, the marine life. All of this wouldn't happen without the dedicated service of our many UNCW interns and volunteers. We are really excited about our newest community partner, the Township of Carolina Beach. 44 canisters have been installed at the Carolina Beach Boardwalk, beach access points, and outdoor local businesses. Please help us by not littering your cigarette butts. Properly dispose your litter in the nearest receptacle. To learn more and get involved, visit our website, keepnhcbeautiful.org.
Okay, so a little bit more in depth on our cigarette litter prevention program. The next video just kind of walks through what that Seabin collection process looked like, but I feel like I described that pretty well, not to toot my own horn or anything, but given that we've already talked about that program is something that we're sunsetting a bit and we're focusing more on the Bebot project, I think it's time to take a field trip.
Yeah, I would say if there's any more questions, maybe ask them now.
Oh, yeah.
Recongregate, but.
Absolutely, if you have any questions. Yes.